All right. So season preview for Georgia headed into 2024. Most likely the preseason #1 team, led by head coach Kirby Smart. And there's a lot of expectations, rightfully so, as there always is. Almost every season, Georgia's projected to make the playoff. This season is no different. So looking at the depth chart, we'll start at quarterback. Obviously, Carson Beck is back, one of the better quarterbacks in college football. Trevor Etienne, the transfer from Florida, and conference transfer. Judkins from Ole Miss, probably the top two. So that's a big time get for Georgia. They still have guys back here behind him, Roderick Robinson and Branson Robinson. Branson Robinson, remember, he's coming off an injury. He would have been the 2022 title game, championship game, before injury. And we've seen Robinson last year as a true freshman. But this team, other than Etienne, they're going to be throwing the ball. Austin Lucky, Ben Urasek, and could be the best tight end in the SEC this year. To look at stats, I'd probably have to open another, because there's no stats on there. He had a really good year last year. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, 280. Remember, he was not the main guy last year, obviously. Headed into this year, though, get 50 to 60 plus receptions, 700, 800 yards, maybe 10 touchdowns. He's going to be the main fastest player on the team, probably. Dominic Lovett, year 2, transfer from Missouri, a couple years. Versatile player. Colby Young, another interesting transfer from Miami. I'd say he'd be a starter. He should be a starter. He's going to be a really good player for them. Michael Jackson III, USC. Not a guy with a lot of production. Obviously, he's buried on the depth chart on here. Anthony Evans is another guy who could have a pretty good impact. So the receiver room as a whole, there's a lot going for them. This is very good Georgia. See how they perform in the fall, obviously. But yeah, there's a lot to like in the receiver room, tight end room, obviously, and then you got Trevor Etienne from Florida to solidify the running back spot. Now, offensive line, Ernest Green going to step in at left tackle. Dylan Fairchild, Jared Wilson, Tate Ratledge, one of the better offensive guards in college football, Xavier Truce. This is probably the best right guard, right tackle tandem in the SEC, because Alabama, they have Booker and Proctor, but they're on the left side. So they got a lot going for them on the right side. And Ernest Green, even though he's going to step in at left tackle, there's a lot to like there. He's a very good player. 6'4", 320. Yeah, he's a pretty decent sized tackle. Other than those guys, pretty solid offensive line. Now I'll switch it over to the defense. This is where Georgia usually has top tier, whatever you want to call it, S tier defense in college football, led by Glenn Schumann, Kirby Smart, obviously. Micah Williams, Nazir Stackhouse, Warren Brinson, Chaz Chambliss, as you would predict. Now Damon Wilson's a sophomore. He was a 5-star edge rusher 2 classes ago. So expect him to get some. Chaz Chambliss is by now. He's been a 3-year impact player. CJ Allen, Raylan Wilson. I think Raylan Wilson will be the starter. Outstanding sophomores. And then Smell Munden Jr. Jalen Walker. I've been seeing pictures of him in the offseason. He's transformed his body. Linebacker, whether that's on the ball, off the ball, great player. And then Justin Williams, 5-star, #1 linebacker in the 2024 recruit. Might be the best linebacker room in college football when the season's over. Now, right now, they're young. Outside of Munden and Jalen Walker, a senior and a junior. But they're going to rely on these sophomores. Forgot about Troy down here. These 3 sophomores, Allen, Wilson, and then Troy. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Bowles, maybe? Troy Bowles. But either way, these 3 were top tier linebackers in the 2024 class. And now they add Justin Williams to this room. No matter who's on the field, you have some pretty good talent out there. Now, secondary, Dalen Everett Jr., Malachi Starks Jr., they're part of that recruiting class. They also had Singletary, who's no longer there. But these 2 guys are probably going to lead the way. Julian Humphrey, sophomore, and Dan Jackson, we know who he is. He's been an impact player for quite some time. But here's a guy that I expect to take the starting spot, whether it's week 2 or week 9. KJ Bolden. Remember Malachi Starks? 2022 opener against Oregon. Malachi Starks had an interception. He had all the offseason hype. Everyone was talking about him. And then what did he do? He went out and performed. Now, KJ Bolden, we're going to have to see it. He hasn't had as much hype from the Georgia media as Malachi Starks did, but I think that's because there was a spot for Starks, headed into that season. Now, KJ Bolden, obviously Dan Jackson is a solidified, pretty good safety, okay? And Malachi Starks has the other safety spot. So is KJ Bolden maybe a star where Aguero is? But he's a pretty good player in his own right and had an outstanding freshman year. And we've heard Kirby Smart just rave about this kid. So where's KJ Bolden going to fit in? I think this is the spot right here where Dan Jackson is. And that's nothing bad towards Dan Jackson as a player. We know he's a good player. But Georgia fans out there, you got to get ready to play as a true freshman. And then Ellis Robinson, the 4th. It's going to be interesting to see where he fits in. He was the #1 corner, 5-star, obviously, in the 2024 class. It's just going to be a tough spot for him to fit in here. Talent-wise, he could probably do it day 1 or week 1 of the season. We're just going to have to wait and see all year round. So that's going to do it for the depth chart. Let's take a look at the schedule. Weekend game. Remember back in the 2013-2014 season, they had this go back and forth, home and home. And then 2021, they opened up. But it's 4 in that game I mentioned against Oregon. And they do pretty well in this building. Outside of Alabama, they don't lose. Now, if I had to pick a winner, obviously, I'm probably going to pick Georgia. Cade Klubnik. Now, he could have a really good season, but obviously a win. So that should be a win. And then you get a bye before the big Alabama game, which is big. They get a bye before you travel to Alabama for a road game. Now, since it's a road game, this is a lot more losable than if it was at home. And I think this is a toss-up. This is definitely a 50-50 game. I mean, we just saw Alabama beat Georgia last year, a really good Georgia team. A Georgia team that many picked to win the national title, headed into conference championship weekend. Obviously, they were ranked #1 at the time. And they'll probably be ranked 1 or 2 at worst headed into this game. So, I mean, they're probably going to be favored, but either way, this might be a 50-50 game. Auburn, that should be a win. You're home for that one. Mississippi State, home. That should be a win. Now, at Texas, looking at the schedule, this is probably their most losable game alongside Alabama. At Texas and at Alabama. That are tough games. If I had to choose one of those 3 they lose, it'd be Texas. It would be Texas. I think I say Texas just because the all-around roster that Texas has put together. Now, obviously, we're going to have to line of scrimmage, offense, defense. Their linebacker room, just like Georgia, is loaded. receivers, quarterback, running back room, offensive line, everything. You like everything about Texas but the secondary. That's the only question mark. So, 5 before Florida. I think they'd win that. At Ole Miss, this will be an easier game than Texas, but not easy by any means. Ole Miss hit the transfer portal, built up a defensive front that is formidable, and it's going to be tough for SEC teams to score on them. Nonetheless, I like Georgia's defense against Ole Miss. Obviously, they lose Judkins. They bring a lot back at receiver. But no matter how good the defense and pull that one out. Tennessee, you're home. Nico, first-year starter, coming into Athens. That has recipe for success for Georgia. Ole Miss win, Georgia Tech win. So if I had to put a prediction, I'm going 11-1. I could see 10-2. I could see them losing to Alabama, no doubt. I don't think Clemson is as tough of a game as a road game at, like, for Alabama or at Ole Miss. So I think 11-1 is pretty realistic for them, and 10-2 is also there as well. So looking at their 2025 recruiting class, we'll just give a quick preview for this and see where they could. What it is, 22 commits so far, but they're not done. Ellis Williams, #1 tight end, so they're just going to add to that tight end room that we already covered. Zayden Walker, they're going to add to the linebacker room. Isaiah Gibson, #2 edge. Zayden Walker, this is a dude right here. If you have a chance, go and check out his huddle highlights. And obviously, those are just his junior highlights. He still has his senior year left. Ryan Montgomery from Findlay, Ohio, a quarterback. So they went to Ohio and got the 10th best quarterback. Anyone else stand out? Juwan Gaston, they just got a commitment from him a couple days ago. Yep, August 2nd. Christian Jarrett, another defensive lineman. And Darren, I don't want to botch his last name, but they got an 11th best edge rusher. A safety duo. See, this is where we want to see Georgia take that next step. They're getting these receiver commits down here and a running back. But where's the 5-star? Or where's the high-ranking 4-stars? The 46th, 52nd best receiver and the 30th best running back. We know they're getting tight ends. Like, that's not the problem. We know they're getting tight ends. And they got one receiver here. But prior to this, we just haven't seen them stack those guys up. You would think with Georgia's success that they could go and get a 5-star running back. They got Nate Frazier last year, but this class, none so far. And we can take a look. I guess we should go to offers and just see who is on their running back board that's not committed yet. Now, he's probably going to go to Alabama. He decommitted from Ole Miss. Chroma. Let's see. Now, they're in it for him. And I'm going to switch it over to the composite just so we can get the average. So look, he's the 15th best running back. And they have the 30th. But like receiver-wise, they should be in it for these guys. You're the #1 team, top 3 team every single season. And you should be able to pick and choose your offensive guys as well. We know they do it on defense, and they do it well. So here's Cameron Sparks. So is he a JUCO guy? It says 5th best. Oh, athlete. Okay, 5th best athlete, but they project him to play receiver. So this is a big time one. This is what I'm talking about. They need to get this guy. They need the difference makers on offense to complement those tight ends. Like I said, they have Ellis Williams, the #1 tight end. By far the #1 tight end too. If you watch the guy, you can see why he's the #1 tight end. But yeah, this class, though, is crazy. And obviously they're not done. They're probably going to end with 25, 26 commits. And then they're going to hit the portal to fill in the empty spots. So yeah, that's going to do it for Georgia's team preview. I said 11-1 as my prediction. But I could also see 10-2. That's very possible. And then with Georgia, you never know. They could pull out a 12-0 with one of the harder schedules in the college football. And we wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, that's going to do it for Georgia.